The movie is set during World War II. In this military adventure, a small specialized squad of U.S. Army African-American soldiers is sent on an unofficial rescue mission behind enemy lines, who locate their missing commanding officer, find a way to survive, and make it back in one piece. The movie starts with the scenes of two American pilots, Lieutenant Mike and Lieutenant Frank Ross, flying back to the base. While they turn, Ross sees a German supply train and takes a pass at it. Mike asks him to make it fast, as they are running low on fuel. Soon they destroy the railway line over the bridge that causes the train to fall off. Mike says he likes it when the trains explode and thanks Ross for his swift attack. They proceed forward, but an enemy warplane, Me-262, spots them. He shoots Mike's plane, killing the pilot and bringing the aircraft down. In little time at all, he crashes, and Ross takes off to get out of the enemy's line of sight. However, he soon catches up to him and fires at his aircraft as well, causing his gasoline to leak. He ejects the seat and escapes when his engine cuts out, but he is well behind enemy lines. Elsewhere, Allied forces under the command of First Lieutenant A.J. Bronson have been held up by a minefield. A mine disposal crew, Lieutenant Hayes, Sergeant McCarran, and Private Buttons stop near them. The lieutenant asks them to stay inside, while he goes to the major and asks him why he has stopped. He shows him a spot in the ground and asks him to dispose of this mine. He responds that he has indeed swept and cleans the area of any enemies when Hayes asks. He now begins working to remove the mine, but while he does so, the German Army's commander discovers this American platoon hidden deep within the forest. He gives his forces the command to prepare an assault on the Americans right away. The German commander gives the order to attack them with all of his might as Hayes discovers the mine and tells his soldier to fetch his tool. Lieutenant Hayes lies on the mine as the other American military personnel seek cover. In the meantime, he uses that location to announce the attacker's presence. After realizing his signals, everyone gets ready to avenge him. They launch their bombs and mortars at the Germans right away. They retreat from the positions as a result of their calculated attacks in their trenches. As the American soldiers attack the German soldiers who were running for their lives outside, they quickly overwhelm them, break into their trenches, and seize their vehicles and posts. The next moment, Lieutenant Hayes and Sergeant Red are having dinner after the fight. Red is grateful to him for his work in the mine. They are called to meet with the major, he says. After the meal, they stroll along the tents. Suddenly, a soldier spits at the feet of Lieutenant Hayes. He goes to him and asks him to salute the lieutenant. He refuses, saying that he does not salute the Negroes. Red steps in and warns him that if he will not salute him, he will pick his teeth up off the ground. He salutes him now and they go to meet the Major, Chase Anderson. He welcomes them and says he is busy clearing the way for the search party to rescue a crashed fighter pilot. Lieutenant Hayes hands him the scout report of the concerned sector for the safe passage of the search team. He briefs him that they can clear the further zones without any issue. He appreciates his work on the report and asks about the trouble their platoon faced coming there. He says the Germans sprung an ambush on them with their tanks, guns, machine guns, mortars, and about 50 to 60 men. But they cleared the sector afterward. Now he sits and reads from a report for the lieutenant that the military division has reassigned him pending an investigation into his misconduct yesterday. They get shocked hearing this, but the major says someone is trying to pin the blame on him for the German ambush. The sergeant tries to clarify that it was the white soldiers who did not do their job to clear the area. The fault is actually on the troops who failed to scout and clear the area, not him. The major stands up and says he knows it is not right, and asks them to give him 3 to 4 days to dismiss the charges. The lieutenant asks him where he needs to report. The major says he should go to the post 8 on the other side of the camp. He encourages him that they will win and keep their heads high. Hayes asks Red to look after their colored guys while he is away before he departs. He is told to join a group that is crossing over. The same soldier calls his name and spits again when he joins the convoy. Hayes turns to face him, furious, but Captain stops him. Since he was already bothering his white guys, he begs him to be kind to them. He claims that rather than leading the convoys, their role is to follow. Hayes was speechless and gave him a salute to leave the scene. They stop in the forest somewhere along the route to get a feel for the surroundings. Hayes claims he can help because he is familiar with the area, but the captain turns him down because of his racial leanings. To find out where they are, he gives his man the order to get the radio. The Germans intercept them when they attempt to use the radios to contact their base, noting their location. Their squad leader gives them the order to attack the Americans where they are. The German squad suddenly materialized and began firing on the convoy, as it was making its way out, and the captain could not hear German tanks approaching them. Their tank man blows their front vehicle with the launcher, while the others attack the remaining convoy. Hayes goes to the radio and informs his base about this ambush. Red on the base hears this and rushes to the major to tell him about the ambush. When he asks him to send a rescue team, he rejects him, saying that he is a smart man, he will find his way out, and he cannot send the team, as they are there to capture the city, not to rescue the parties. While in the forest, he gets hold of the machine gun and fires back at the Germans. This buys him enough time to run from there. He escapes into the woods and runs into Lieutenant Ross. Ross saves him from the Germans and says to Hayes that it is lucky that he was around. He asks him if he is the missing pilot. He says it is right. He is the pilot who used to fly the planes before he was shot down. Hayes says he is the one that is going to rescue him. He cracks a joke at him, saying that he was doing just fine until he brought the whole German army on top of him. He asks Hayes to use the radio and call the reinforcements. Hayes makes him realize that no one is coming to save them, as half of the Germans are in between them and the base. They leave that place and go inside the forest. Ross keeps asking the questions to him and ordering him to return to the forest. He assures him to take him to the base, but Ross keeps arguing with him. Hayes gets upset with him and says he does not want to accept the orders, which are willfully getting him killed. While in the base, Red gathers his men and informs them about the orders of the major. He says they cannot leave Hayes behind the enemy lines too, so they decide to prepare a rescue squad on their own. Red and Salty go to a tank driver, Sergeant Warren, who offers himself to help them, as he was also ready to cross the orders. He shows them his heavy tank, Alamo. They come back to the mailroom and spread a map. They decide to leave at night and take a certain route and sector to reach the concerned area. All the black soldiers pledge to make this excessive move and take pride in it. The male sergeant, Thomas, goes to the major and tells them the sentiments of all the black soldiers about Hayes. He says he is not happy either. Major Anderson wants to dispatch a search party to find Hayes, but he is unable to act until it is determined that the missing white pilot is within the same area due to priorities at headquarters. In this way, he prepares some paperwork and leaves for the general's meeting. When he arrives, he informs him of the state of his camp. The general introduces himself to him, and he signs the documents without hesitation. Following the operations approval, the major immediately returns to the base. Suspecting something, he watches as the postal sergeant counts some black soldiers. He reaches Sergeant Red and finds him getting his men ready to go on the rescue mission. He stops him, saying that this mission is unauthorized, so he will not let him go. But Red insists on going to save his fellow black officer. When he says he does not care for his promotion or battlefield commissions, the major surprises him by giving him the official authorization of the operation, a special courtesy of the general. He gets amazed at this news and thanks the major. He gives him 24 hours to get Hayes and the pilot back. They get on their vehicles and off to the sector. While in the forest, Hayes finds Ross going into the minefield. He stops him while he works to clear the area. On the other hand, Red and Sergeant Warren have taken their team to the doors of the German settlement. They surround them covertly and suddenly appear from the trees. Red's team attack them from the other side of the regiment. They leave no risk to let anyone live there. After this full surprising attack, they move through them forward in the forest. The next morning, Red's team is trying to find the tank of Warren, while trying to connect Hayes on the radio. After some time passes and they manage to get in touch with him, the German squad commander also eavesdrops on their conversation. After obtaining Hayes' coordinates, he gives the order for his troops to go there. The German planes spot Warren's tank crew when they are across the forest, and they open fire on them. Their attempt to shoot them down was unsuccessful. Red, who is positioned to witness this, gives the order to his team to prepare for any form of attack. Ross and Hayes run out of ammunition while fighting the Germans, so they have to use the dagger to continue fighting. A German commander finds them and holds them at gunpoint. They prepare a rope to hang them, while another squad of the German army appears before the Americans. When they come near to them, they open fire at them in the open fields. Meanwhile, Red and his men have arrived at the location of Hayes and Ross. They stop the Germans from beating them and held them at gunpoint. Red beats the German commander when he refuses to surrender. They get their guns and head back to their team. Sergeant Warren arrives at a defensive position in the woods. He attacks the German tanks with their tanks. They overpower them after some time. The German squad commander takes the things in his hands, gets his tank, comes to the American position and attacks them. They could not find them at first, but Warren finds him and forces him to come out. He drives forward to destroy the German indestructible tank. At the same time, 2 American fighter aircraft emerge from the sky, destroying the German tank with their initial strike. They are all delighted with their success. When the general congratulates the first American Negro tankers, the film comes to a close. They are the best in his army, he says, and he appreciates that. He praises their bravery on their behalf. Hayes approaches Sergeant Warren and expresses gratitude for being a part of his rescue squad. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this and help the channel grow.